live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com. This is the Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Finally, we got some good news. Doesn't happen that often, but I think this is good news. Latest polling shows that the Poilievre-led Conservatives have overtaken the Liberals, and quite handily. One poll, in fact, a couple of polls, shows the Conservatives with 37% support compared to the Liberals' 30%, 7% lead. What do you think? Do you think this is good news? And let me ask you this. Does the polling match what you are hearing on the street? There's still a lot of support out there for Trudeau, believe it or not, 30%. But do you agree with the poll? Do you think that, in fact, what you're hearing and seeing indicates that Poilievre is pulling ahead? One thing that's very interesting, and this does not surprise me, and that is that the Poilievre-led Conservatives are dragging a lot of votes away from Maxime Bernier's People's Party. In fact, some polls indicate that if the trend continues, that in fact the Bernier deserters may be sufficient to give Pierre Poilievre a majority government if the polling is to hold up. And of course, that's the next question I've got for you. Do you think, if in fact Pierre is in the lead now, do you think he can hold on? Or will the media manage to drag him down? They've certainly succeeded with other conservatives in the past. They will try. In fact, they are trying. Read Warren Kinsella. What a guy, eh? But what's your opinion about it? Do you agree with the polling? Do you think the polling is probably right? Is this what you're hearing on the street? Is it good news for you? Do you think he can hang on to the lead if he's got it? And I know that some of you people probably in the past voted for the People's Party. Are you one of those who say, okay, you know what? I think I'm going to come back to the Conservatives this time. Apparently, a good number of you are. So good on you. If we're going to defeat Trudeau, there's no question we need every single vote. So if you got some thoughts on that, John, once again, tell people how they can get in touch with us.
All right. We'd love your phone calls. Phone. 613-413-2217. You can text as well if you're shy. We're all over Facebook. So on 3 different Facebook channels, The Lowell Green, Milkman Show, and Blast the Radio, and youtube.com/Blast the Radio, and twitch.tv/Blast the Radio. We got comments coming in already on this, Lowell. So whenever you're ready, we'll start reading them to you.
I have another topic here.
Figured you would.
This the business of battery operated vehicles. We've talked about it before, but there's something that really bothers me here. And I have a very dear friend who has a Tesla, and he swears by it. And good on him. He can afford it. Good on him. I'm just not sure that they are nearly as green as people claim. When you stop and think about all the energy that's required to make them, I see there's a big story out yesterday about all the extra mines that are going to have to be developed in order to provide the various minerals for the batteries, et cetera, et cetera. That's one issue. But one of the issues that really disturbs me, and it disturbs me about bicyclists as well. Here we have, I call them free roaders. We're spending millions of dollars on bike paths, but the bicyclists don't pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
People who buy gasoline pay for it. But the same now holds true for those who drive electric vehicles. A good chunk of the taxes we pay on gasoline, and God only knows we pay a lot of tax on gasoline, a good chunk of that goes to build and maintain the roads, bridges, infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. But if you don't buy gasoline, you don't pay the tax, and thus you do not help to support the construction maintenance of the roadways. You're a free roader. Now, with only in Canada about 5% of the vehicles electric powered, I suppose it's not that serious. But by 2030, which is what, another 6, 7 years, Trudeau says that 50% of the vehicles must be electric. If that holds true, or even if we come close to it, that means that about half the vehicles on the road will not be contributing to maintaining the road. So who's going to pay? Shouldn't so my question here is, look, it's all very well you're riding a bicycle, you got bike lanes and so forth, but should you not be compelled somehow or other to pay for it? Why should people who drive these terrible gas-driven gasoline vehicles, why should we have to pay for your free rides on bike paths and your free rides on electric vehicles? Drive electric vehicle. I don't think the government should be subsidizing to begin with. I mean, if you have enough money to buy an electric vehicle, I don't think people making $25,000 a year should have to help you subsidize buying your damn car. But that's another issue. But the real issue here is, to me, increasing number of electric vehicles not contributing to the roads that they use. What should we do here? And of course, there's also a warning here, and that is that a lot of people, when they're figuring, well, I should buy an electric vehicle, I won't have all of that gas tax we've got to pay, et cetera, et cetera. That's got to change. If large numbers of people are going to buy electric vehicles, somebody's got to pay for those roads. And in my opinion, here's my thought. I don't think it's all that wild, and that is the people who use the road should bloody well pay for the roads. And the only way we've got to pay for the roads right now is the gas tax. But if you're not burning gas, if you're pumping away on a bicycle, if you're driving an electric vehicle, you're not buying gas and you're not helping to pay for the roads that you use. What should we do here, folks? What's your view of that? The free roaders. Very nice indeed. John, what response have we got so far here?
All right, again, the number here, 613-413-2217. First comment in is via text. I switched back to the Conservatives from the PPC because Pierre is a true conservative. Peter,
good show.
In.
Thank you very much. That's great. I was hoping this would happen. So what it means is that the People Party supporters, some of them at least, are using their heads. Okay, good for you. Good.
To Facebook, Craig says, then we should not be subsidizing those that improve their properties with new windows, doors, and high-efficiency appliances either.
Well, I certainly agree with that. I couldn't agree more. I mean, look, if you're putting in high-efficiency windows, doors, et cetera, presumably, if you're going to burn less fuel, you're going to save money. So why should the government be helping you save more money? No. It's not the government, it's the taxpayer. I agree. But it's nonetheless, it doesn't match. Look, if 30-40% of the cars on the road are not contributing to supporting the road, where are we going to get the money? To build, maintain our roads costs billions of dollars. And the big chunk of that, the bulk of that comes from gas tax. Go ahead, please, John.
All right, Brian is on Facebook. His profile picture is the PPC logo. So he says, pressure from the PPC is why the CPC appears to support the ideals of freedom. I stand with the PPC because after the last 2 years, I don't trust the CPC to not switch back to supporting
Brian, seriously. So you want Trudeau to continue, do you? I mean, that doesn't make any sense, okay? I mean, first of all, Pierre is a true conservative, a good man, okay? But more than that, we've got to get rid of Trudeau. If you're not going to support Pierre, and you cost Pierre seats, or cost the Conservatives last seats in the last election. I mean, I cannot imagine the kind of dumb thinking. You know what, Brian? Sorry, you're a sweetheart of a guy, but your thinking on that particular issue is really dumb. Go ahead, John.
Back to Facebook. Kathy's comment is as follows. I honestly believe Pierre will take the next election as he comes from the working class. I hear many liberals turning away from Trudeau and his Liberal Party. They feel let down, lied to, and feel they never voted NDP/Liberal.
Well, I hope that's true. That's a very interesting observation. I'm surprised that I don't hear more complaints from liberals about the marriage with the NDP. If I were a liberal supporter, I would be very upset about that. Go ahead, John.
Carl says bring back license plates for electric vehicles and cyclists. Charge them a fee. See how they like that.
Well, yeah, that's okay for bicycles. I agree. The bicycles should be licensed, and the fee should be hefty. I mean, to me, the bicyclists should have to help pay for the roads that they use. Okay, but a license fee is not going to compensate. We're talking tens of billions of dollars in gas tax across this country. Somehow or other, if everybody's going to drive an electric vehicle, somebody's going to have to supplant that. And to me, as I repeat, if you use the roads, you should have to pay for the roads. Go ahead, John.
A lot of comments. I'm going to roll them all into one and summarize. A lot of comments talking about the use of GPS to track your mileage, etc., and that you will be taxed accordingly on that. It's something that is happening currently in Holland, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea. So if you've got an electric vehicle, you've got to have a GPS, and there's a master switch someplace that monitors your mileage.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, one way or the other, if you're going to be using the roads, you should help pay for them. And that, by the way, as I say, includes cyclists. This cyclist has bothered me for a long, long time. I see that the woman who probably, or I don't know, is she a woman? I'm not sure.
The candidate?
Yeah, the candidate. If she wins, there probably will be millions more spent on bike lanes that we taxpayers who buy gasoline will have to pay for. I'm sick and tired of having to pay for people to to fix up their houses. I don't know why I have to pay you put in new windows. I don't know why I've got to pay bicyclists to have a special laneway. It's time that it stopped, folks. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I've never understood that whole cyclist thing either. I'm fine with, no licenses for bicycles if you're driving through a neighborhood, a school zone where the speed limit is 50 or below. But as soon as you get on to things like the airport parkway, etc., if you're on a bike lane there needs to be a licensing fee. There really does. You're part of the new flow of traffic that this is being envisioned. So it's time to tax you. And you should be also required to carry insurance, frankly, because a lot of them just drive and take chances that put people at risk. And if they're not carrying insurance, I don't know what the solution is there.
I
Should they
didn't
get into an
realize
accident?
that. You're telling me that a cyclist is not compelled to have insurance?
No.
Ooh.
No.
But they're a vehicle that uses
They are a
the
motorized vehicle. Absolutely. They're not required to carry insurance. No.
Hmm.
I know. Scares the hell out of me. Back to you.
But you know what? Yesterday, spent a lot of time talking about privilege. And it seems to me that we are creating a new privileged class here. They're called a spandex crowd riding bicycles.
Spandex crowd.
Free roaders. Go ahead.
I like that. All right. Kathy says if someone wants to drive an electric vehicle, they should also pay the same tax as gas vehicles. And to you too.
I guess this idea of GPS, I hadn't thought of that. That's very interesting.
Well, I think that was mentioned in that very controversial green energy plan that the city quietly passed, although a lot of councillors seem to deny that they passed it, even though they passed it. The use of GPS in vehicles, so it's going to track where you go and the mileage you put on and tax you accordingly. I guess that is.
But that was a tax just to enter the city that they're talking about.
Well, that too. That's in addition.
One of the answers that I've never understood why we don't do more of, if we want to build more roads, bridges, I don't understand why we don't go to tolls.
Mm-hmm.
This holds true for a new bridge or tunnel over to Hull, which is desperately needed. I mean, those trucks steaming through the center of downtown Ottawa are disgraceful. But why don't we build a toll road? I mean, there's a toll bridges, a number of toll bridges that in this country, and they all make money and pay for themselves. Um, I, and the Highway 407 north of Toronto is a toll road. Lots of people
Highway
use it.
30 to get around Montreal is a toll road.
Oh, is it really? I didn't
Yep.
realize that.
Yep.
To me, this is the answer. If and you know what? If we took the tax off gasoline and just had everybody with a GPS, and you had to pay, see how the more miles that you drive, the more you pay, wouldn't be a bad idea. Go ahead.
User fees. You want it, you use it, you
Yeah,
pay for it. Simple as
yeah.
that. And if you're not, you're saving yourself a couple of bucks.
And the more you use the roads, the more you should pay.
Agreed. All right. Tony says, I think it is a well established fact that the production of EVs is more harmful to the environment than a standard combustion vehicle. Why should we be footing the bill for recharging them? Also, he says, ask your friend what a new battery for his Tesla will cost him.
Apparently, a new battery is what, 25, 20,
Around that.
$26,000?
Yep.
I still don't know how long they will last, though. That's the next question.
I don't know. I guess we're going to find out in 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Kathy says if someone wants to drive an electric vehicle, they should also pay the same tax. I think I read that already. Kellyanne says, same roads, so pay up, both cyclists and electric car owners. Barbara, on the topic of Pierre Poilievre, says this is fantastic news. Pierre has to win by a majority. My sincere hope is that all the silent NDPers will come over too. Would bring so much hope back to Canadians. Can you just imagine?
I don't think the NDP are going to. I mean, the NDP is off left. They're into bike lanes and spandex and stuff like that. But there's no question in my mind that a good many liberals probably, if the trend continues, will come over. I mean, liberals are not stupid. Lots of liberals must be very, very upset at what's happening with this government.
Glenn says electronic vehicle batteries are warranted for 7 years, the last time he checked. So they're warranted for 7. Doesn't say how long they'll last. Coraline says, I paid $23,000 for my last car. I am not buying an electric vehicle. Boo Boo on YouTube. Been a while since you've been around, Boo Boo. Nice to see you. Boo Boolts. What? Boo Boolts. About time that the conservatives are leading the conservatives are leading the liberals. Oh my God, Boo Boo, you're killing me. Best thing to happen to our country since the 2015 election. I agree with the polling, as do everyone that I know. Wow. Is it too early to pour a drink, Lowell? I mean, holy smokes.
And I guess some people just have never used a comma in their life.
I get it, but they're banging it out in a hurry. They want to get it on before the show's
I
done.
understand. Comma is there. Use the odd comma, though, folks. And a period once in a while is not a bad idea either.
And I suspect a fair number of people are dictating their comments, and then it's reading them from that too. All right, Bruce says, hi, Lowell. I think I know the answer. What they're going to do if these vehicles are being plugged into those outlets at gas stations, the money that they make off that should go towards roads, and our electric bills will be going up. Serve these electric vehicles.
The problem is that we already have electric vehicles on the road. And as far as I can see, in this country at least, there is no plan to tax these people, to make these people help to pay for the roads that they use. The way things are today, those people driving electric vehicles are free roaders. They're using the roads. They're not paying for the roads. It's got to change. But as I say, I see no plan in store for this. Trudeau announces that by the year 2030, 50% of vehicles got to be electric, but no plan to make them help pay for the roads. Typical of this government, though, eh? Very, very typical. Go ahead.
613-413-2217. Here's a text. Lowell, this is good news and probably correct. The majority of Canadians voted PC the last 2 elections. So I think getting the Bernier vote as well as the fence-sitting Liberal voters who see country-saving ideas from Poilievre as opposed to big green initiative spending on an escalating debt from the Liberals' ideals.
I tell you the thing that worries me. I've seen this, man, I've been around a long time. I've seen this time and time again, and that is that the more that Pierre appears to pull ahead, the more the media is going to go after him. They're going to pull out the old abortion issue again. You can see it. Kinsella has already done this in a couple of ways. these old bugaboos are going to haul them out, haul them out. Um, Whether it will work this time, I don't know. But I do know that the media is going to do whatever it can. Don't forget that the media's got a lot to lose. Okay, like a couple $1 billion. CBC 1.2 billion we get from the taxpayers. 600 million went out to various newspapers, and another 3 or 400 million went out to other publications. So not only does the media tend to be sort of liberal supporters, but now they have a financial interest in making sure that the liberals win. Go ahead, please, John.
Let's get a word in for Shields, and we'll get to the rest of the
Yeah.
comments here in just a moment.
Still getting good reports from Shields. I've said this before about other people who have endorsed me, and that is that if people aren't happy, they don't agree with something I say, they let me know. So far, in well over a year now, about talking about Shields, I haven't had a single complaint. Not a single one. Now I'm sure that there will be some coming in. You can't please everybody. Let's be very honest. You just can't please everybody. But so far, it would appear that Shields has done a very good job pleasing a lot of people. The prices are very, very competitive. They shop the market. They know exactly what other countries or what other companies are charging. They make sure that they're very, very competitive, and they're in stock. Almost 90% of any appliance that you might want, they have in stock, which means it can be in your house very, very quickly. Shields Furniture and Appliances, www.shields.ca, SCHEELS.ca. John?
I should also mention, since I saw them posted on social media just a few minutes ago, they will be closed this Saturday for a family wedding. So Shields
Wonderful.
Saturday. Yeah. Let's go to text. I believe Scott Moe is proposing or is taxing electric cars annually, says Ron in Barhaven.
I haven't heard that. I don't know how you would do that.
When you renew your license plate, you must include your mileage, says this person. Subtract this year from last year's, then multiply by tax formula amount. That's what we should collect from EV, says this person via text 613-413-2217.
That would really confuse the public. Yeah, can you?
I'm already confused between the lack of punctuation. All right, just read the caption about Pierre Poilievre being ahead in the polls. Yippee! This lady is very, very happy to hear the news, says Kellyanne. Somebody brought this up just before we talked about Shields, and I want to get your take on that. And that is the alleged some podcaster made a comment about abusing Pierre Poilievre's wife. So, I mean, he's already putting up with a ton of absolute disgusting behavior.
Rape, actually. One of them even said that he would rape.
Well, I didn't
rape his wife.
I didn't want to use the language, but yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. And the other person said, I don't want to use their names. Well, what about you? Have a wife? Oh, he said we would involve her as well. I mean, these people are just dog shit. They're just bums.
I had never heard of this podcaster until I read that article in, I think it was the Toronto Star, and I went and had to listen. And the first few minutes of this guy's podcast is him just bragging about how many platforms he's kicked off of, and and how he prides himself on being able to circumvent, being kicked off here and there, and blah blah blah.
Let me give you an example of the bias, the bias that slips into even stories like this. There's a Citizen story today talking about this. And they quote a local university professor who apparently knows these guys, but he gets in a little subtle dig. He said, or words. I'm paraphrasing here. He said it's all very well, you complain when it, but he should have raised hell before when these people were abusing other women. But Pierre says he never heard of them before. But this is a subtle way that the media gets to slip in this kind of stuff. I mean, saying, well, you're complaining when it happens to you, but you're not complaining what happened to other people. But Pierre says, I never heard of these guys before. So.
Nor had I, and I'm in broadcasting. Right. So I should have heard of these guys. I haven't heard of these guys. I can let Pierre off the hook on that. And I mean, these guys should have been at least newsworthy somewhere, because I guess it's not the first time the RCMP have been asked to look into them. So,
but can you imagine something like this happens? They threaten they like to rape his wife, etc. All of the terrible stuff. Okay. And a university professor tries to turn around on Pierre. Well, it's all very well you're complaining now. You should have complained before about it. I mean, this is the kind of crapola that goes on all of the time.
No,
Go ahead, John.
no, it's about the politician. It's not about the politician's family.
Oh,
It
God.
really isn't. Ever, regardless of party.
See, as far as I'm concerned, a university professor like that, I mean, what's this guy doing teaching children? Go ahead.
As Craig says, it instills violence against women. Yes, it does. All right, to email Lowell@blasttheradio.com. Lowell, I'm all for bicycle lanes, safety reasons among the issues. As for paying for it, no way. The same argument can be made for sidewalks.
Oh, nonsense. No, it's nonsense. We all pay for the sidewalks through our regular taxes. It's the gas tax that you're not paying. It's the gas tax that pays for the bike lanes, but people riding bikes don't buy gas. Come on. Go ahead, John.
Another email, this one from Paul. Hi, Lowell, regarding how green are electric vehicles. The European New Car Assessment Program study from earlier this year showed that electric vehicles emit about 40% of greenhouse gases compared to a standard gas-powered vehicle. This includes manufacturing emissions and emissions to 240,000 kilometers, so it's lifetime emissions. They also noted that more electricity is needed in cold weather as ranges go down, as in a cold February day in Ottawa, and he's got a link to an article if we're interested in that from driving.ca. Let's go to Peter. He says, Pierre Poilievre knows the game the media play and how to deal with them. Yes, he does, Peter. In fact, the night before he was voted leader of the Conservative Party, he sent an email out to all of his subscribers saying, if I win tomorrow, I will be up against a media storm that has already begun. So he knew it going in. All right. Let's go to Mike. That's great, but the Liberals are still leading the popular vote, and I cannot understand this. Joshua says...
Hold it. Where did you get that from? The latest poll indicates that the Liberals are not leading the popular vote. As a matter of fact, in the last two federal elections, when it comes to the popular vote, the Conservatives outnumbered the Liberals. I don't know where people get some of this information. Go ahead.
Joshua on Facebook says, this reminds me of when Lowell defended Margaret Trudeau's right to privacy. Human decency should always trump party politics.
Yeah, that's true. In fact, on the wall behind me, I have a letter from Pierre Trudeau, and thanking me. I went. You may recall the Margaret Trudeau was in an institution in Montreal,
yep,
and the media followed her around. It was a pretty disgraceful display. And I went on the air and was highly critical of the media there. And Pierre responded by writing me a nice letter, which I have framed and put behind me here.
Where did Mike get his stats regarding the Liberals still leading the popular vote? You're going to love this. I just heard it on the radio.
Which radio? Where? Oh, my
radio
goodness.
that just can't bring themselves to say anything nice about Pierre Poilievre, that radio? Okay, just asking.
The Conservatives have led the popular vote in the last two federal elections and continue to lead the Liberals. Go ahead.
That is factually correct. Eric says, no doubt it was the CBC.
Dale, I wonder.
Yeah. Dale says, I believe the majority of Canadians don't trust the mainstream media and will ignore their bull. I know I will.
Well, it's impossible to ignore it because you implant ideas here. And where else are people getting their information and their thoughts? The mainstream media plays a major role. Whether you realize it or want to admit it or not, it does. Go ahead.
It does. And listen, there are certainly problems and there are a lot of areas that need to be improved. But relying on social media where anyone can post anything, the number of factually incorrect things that you see in your social media every single day, that's your first clue. That's your first clue. Mike says he heard it on City News Ottawa, not CBC. All right. Wants to clarify that. Corleen says politicians are fair game. Their families and homes, however, are off limits. Let's go to Peter. Trudeau will throw every sinister lie, twist the news, make up stories they can on Pierre and any Conservative candidates, boogeyman stories to people who are not informed. But guess what? People are fed up on everything Trudeau does. The polling is bang on, Lowell. That is Peter.
I hope so.
Yep, Donald adds, the polls are right. Craig says, this is fantabulous news. Laurentian View Terry on Twitter. First comment on Twitch. Sorry, Twitch folks. Getting to you now. He says, if he sticks to his beliefs, he can pull off a majority government. Mahadi, I think the polls are correct. Pierre Poilievre will beat sleepy Justin Trudeau, he says. Eric, there's a push on to install GPS on all vehicles to calculate the road tax and insurance. No, thank you, he says. I think a lot of people are afraid of that because they don't want their movement tracked. I mean, little do you know, your cell phone already knows exactly where you go. Knows how many times you go to Tim Hortons in a day, for example. Just saying.
Yeah, but obviously we have to do something. If we don't, our taxes are pretty well, going to have to double to pay for the lost gasoline tax.
Agreed.
We're right out of time. Thank you all, folks. Back tomorrow.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.